Hi friends, welcome back to All Things Kitchen. My name is Jennifer. If you're new here, welcome into my kitchen. If you're not, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. I have been AWOL a little bit for the past couple of weeks. We've had some health issues around here, nasty flu that just lingered and lingered, as well as just life being exhausting. But I'd like to bring you along today. I am going to be replenishing my supply of concentrated chai tea, or just chai, because chai means tea. So I have found a recipe. I love chai. It's my favorite, and I have quite the collection of teas. All different kinds of teas, some that I'm growing myself. I have some strawberry leaves that I grew here in my own garden. I have some lemon balm leaves that I've grown in my own garden. Lots of different things that I've grown myself and that I buy because I like tea. I like herbal teas and regular black teas, all the teas. So today I wanted to bring you along and share my favorite recipe and my twist on it because I do leave some items out of the original recipe, which I will link in the description below. But this is how I make mine. I think it is delicious. The first time I tried it, I was like, this is the best chai I've ever had, let alone made. So I'd like to bring you along, and it'll be quick and easy, pretty much hands off, not a whole lot we have to do, just put it all together. And then I've got concentrate ready to make a cup of tea tomorrow morning when I wake up and get ready for work. I'll bring you down and show you all the ingredients. Okay, so we are starting off with 4 cups of water in our pot. I'm going to bring you down here, and I'm going to go through all the things that I just showed you that we're going to put in here. And we're going to do it nice and easy. So I'm going to go ahead and get my burner on, and we'll get the water heating up. All of these ingredients we're going to bring to a boil, and then down from the boil, we will bring it to a simmer and let it simmer for about 15 minutes. So the first thing we're going to put in is the cardamom. So this right here. This is a whole cardamom pod, and I'm going to crush this open, and I'll show you how I do that. Well, my larger knives are dirty, so I'm going to try this little cookie spatula. I'm just going to pop it like you crush garlic, just to kind of pop it open a little bit, because there's a little seed inside that pod. Now, what I have been doing, just to save myself some extra work at the end, is putting all of my spices in one of my tea/coffee bags that I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in here, and then I'll crush them once they're in the bag. And I'm just kind of giving it a good crush to pop open those pods so that we get all the flavor. Now also in this bag, I'm going to put 8. Now the recipe calls for black peppercorns. I'm using a combination of black and white because I actually prefer white. It doesn't have as much heat. And so I'm going to do kind of half and half. I'm not real worried about it being the exact number. The recipe, like I said, calls for 8. I'm going to, I didn't even count those, put those in there with my cardamom pods. And then we have, the recipe calls for 8 cloves. I don't care for cloves all that much, so I do reduce this down to in half. And I'm going to put 4 cloves in my bag. So 4 whole cloves. And I just bought that little bag because I wasn't sure if I would like them in the tea or not. And that's what I would suggest if there's one of these spices that you're not sure if you'll like or not, go ahead and try just a small. This was, I think, 98 cents. So if I didn't like it, I wouldn't hesitate to just trash it because I know I don't really care for clove, but I do like it in the chai. So that's good. The recipe then calls for 4 cinnamon sticks. Now, I have just recently purchased better cinnamon sticks than this. This is something that I had laying around, and but I am going to use them up before I get my better cinnamon sticks. Even the little pieces right here, I can just put them in the bag. Now, these sticks are a little large for the bag. They're not going to fit in there, but they stay whole. So I'm just going to go ahead and pop those in the water while I create the rest of this bag. And that was only about 2 and maybe a half stick. So I'm going to go ahead and add another one into my pot there. And just to make it clean up a little bit easier, I'm putting everything back in, I guess you could call it my tea bag, just a little silicone Ziploc bag here with all of my spices specifically for this chai tea. Now, fresh ginger, it calls for about a 4-inch piece, so I'm just going to tear off. It doesn't have to be exact. That's not 4 inches. I know it's not, but I'm just going to make it easier on myself, and that was ready to come off. So I'm going to get a spoon and take the flesh off of this. Sorry, the peel, if you will. And it comes off really easy. You can just see here how easy it comes off. I usually do this just right over the trash can and not try to do it on camera. But you can see I'm barely using any pressure whatsoever. You don't have to use a peeler for this. The spoon acts as a peeler. And this recipe is actually the first time I've ever worked with fresh ginger before. I've always just used powdered ginger, but I don't like the powdered ginger in my chai. The more ingredients that I can use in their whole form, it's just easier afterwards trying to strain out any powder of the tea, which it's okay if there's a little bit in there. I don't mind drinking it if there's a little bit in there, but I don't want big chunks of stuff in there. So and then I'm just going to cut this or break this into, no, can't break it. I'm just going to cut this into about thirds. So just 3 little pieces right there. Dropping that in the pot. Got my next thing goes along with what I was saying about having powder in the drink in my tea, and that's With the nutmeg, what I have found, what I can do, I just grate this right over my parchment paper. I'm going to open this up a little bit more. Just however much. I think the recipe calls for about 1/8 of a teaspoon. I like nutmeg, but I don't like it to be overpowering. It can get overpowering very easily. I used to think, well, if I like a little, then more is better, right? Well, for me, not with nutmeg. Put that back. And it's always great to have the fresh grated nutmeg. Anytime you can grate your own or grind up your own fresh spices, it just tastes so much better. So what I do, let me see if I can pull you up a little bit, is I just take this and use this kind of like a funnel, if you will, and put this right in my tea bag. No, it's hard to see. Let me get you at a different angle. So I just see that dropping in the tea bag there. Whatever way you can find it best. If you want to put it on here on your parchment and then maybe use a little funnel or something. But so now I have the majority of my spices in my tea bag. And now I'm going to add, before I add my tea bag in here, I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of brown sugar. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. I'm going to use 3. I found when I use 2, I still have to add more sugar to my tea. And if I can just have it pretty much ready for myself, all I have to do is put it in a cup, add some milk or water, depending on how you like your chai, and then I don't have to worry about any other sweetener. So I'm just giving that a little bit of a stir to get that brown sugar incorporated in there. I'm going to seal up my tea bag and just give this a tie so everything stays inside. Still have a couple more ingredients to add. I'm going to go ahead and get those spices in there. Get my ginger back in the refrigerator so it stays nice and fresh. And that has lasted me quite a little while, so I'm really happy with that. Like I said, it's the first time that I've ever used fresh ginger. Now the next ingredient I'm going to put in is a vanilla bean. And I am pulling this vanilla bean right out of my homemade vanilla. I have used these vanilla beans, these vanilla pods, to make vanilla a couple of times. And so now I'm going to get a final use out of it. So this is the vanilla pod right here. I'm going to take my knife and just cut it down the middle to open it up. So all of those vanilla seeds that are inside that pod can be released. Oh, they're just, oh, that's, wow. They just oozed out as soon as I cut into that. Let me show you my board here. So you can, that has like a ton of vanilla seeds in there. And I don't want to lose any of that flavor. Okay, so I'm bringing this to a boil. This is what I put in mine. And of course, we'll put the tea bags in there. I've got vanilla on my fingers here. Of course, we'll get the tea bags in there after it has simmered with the spices. The recipe also calls for allspice and star anise. I do not like star anise at all. and I have allspice on my grocery order. So again, I've never used allspice in this recipe, so I just ordered one of those small bags, and then I'll see if I like the allspice in it. I can, the recipe, let's see how many, it calls for three whole allspice, and I think they're like little round, kind of like the black peppercorn, but a little bit larger. So I'm going to try that in the next batch that I make. I should have it here at home to try. I have made this recipe several times, and at first, like I said, I didn't put the cloves in there. I added the cloves. I like those. I switched from the powdered ginger to the fresh ginger, and now I'm going to try the allspice in there and see if I like that. But like I said, I will put that recipe in the description for you. I'm going to let this come to a boil. We'll let it simmer for 15 minutes, and I'll bring you back when that is done. So far, so simple, so delicious, so simple. Be right back. The next part of the recipe calls for 4 tea bags. This recipe is very vague. It just says 4 tea bags, and tea bags come in different sizes. There's regular size that you would use for 1 cup of tea, and then there's family size, which you could use a couple of those depending on how strong or weak you like your tea to make like just regular iced tea. So family size, obviously this is bigger. The first time I made it, I did follow the instructions. I used 4 tea bags, and I used the regular 1 cup of tea size. Well, this is a concentrate, and 4 cups of water for 4 tea bags is just 4 cups of tea. It's not a concentrate. So that first batch, although it was flavorful from the spices, it was not the amount of tea flavor that I like. Now, I do drink decaf tea. We minimize our caffeine intake around here. So these are decaf. You can use regular. If there is a day that I feel like I need a little bit of a boost, I do have black tea right here. This is breakfast English tea leaves, and I can just put in my cup, my tea filter right here, just put a teaspoon or something to add a little bit of caffeine to that cup of tea that I want, rather than, like I said, the first batch. I keep referring back to my first batch because we learn from doing. I had added some of those black tea leaves into my first batch, and there are some days I don't want caffeine. It gets me jittery, it upsets my stomach, and I just don't want or need it. But there are those mornings, you know what I'm talking about, where you just need that little bit of oomph. And I can do that for that 1 cup of tea with my little tea filter. However you want to do it. Obviously, you could use a little tea bag. I could do that if I wanted to. I could put the tea leaves in a little bit of cheesecloth or something. Or if you have just a regular tea bag, regular caffeinated tea bag, you could dip that in your tea. You can make it however you want. I'm just letting you know what I do and how I get around those mornings where I do want caffeine and the mornings that I don't. So this has simmered. It's got about 5 minutes left on its simmer, and I've got my tea bags already. I went ahead and I'm using 3 family size tea bags. I found this is a good strength for me. So like I said, it is a concentrate. We are going to dilute this concentrate a 1-to-1 ratio. I use milk. You could use water. You could use half water, half milk. You know, whatever you want, however you want to make your tea, that is customizable for you. So as soon as that's done, I'll put the tea in there, and the tea only has to steep for, I think, like 5 minutes. And then it will be ready. Obviously, again, the longer you let your tea steep, the stronger the flavor will be. Now, the recipe does say the longer the concentrate sits, or at least to let it sit for 24 hours to really get those flavors melded and going and for full flavor. I haven't really noticed a difference between drinking it right away and then letting it sit for 24 hours. But I also generally make it at a time where I'm not drinking tea. Like right now, it's going on 5 o'clock in the evening, and I generally only have herbal teas at night. Again, because even the decaf ones can just kind of wire me up a little bit sometimes. So generally at night, I'll have my strawberry leaf tea, lemon balm, chamomile, green teas. I have a whole bunch of herbal teas. And that just kind of relaxes me, having a nice hot cup of tea at night, especially the chamomile with the lemon balm together. That's kind of almost like a warm glass of milk for me, which I've never had before I go to bed. But it's just nice and relaxing and gets my mind and my body resting and relaxed. So I know it's time to go to bed and go to sleep. Now, for storage purposes, I use a mason jar. It's nice and easy. I can use my funnel, my canning funnel, to pour it in here. I do find it's a little bit easier to take the large pieces out, and I also use the measuring cup that has the pour spout, because trying to pour it directly, actually this is a different pot that I'm using this time, so maybe it might be a little bit easier, but I have lost about half a cup of tea on my countertop every time I put this together. So I started using the measuring cup after I spill some. I'm like, oh yeah, measuring cup with the pour spout. So we'll do that again today. But it's easier if you get the big pieces out of the pot and go ahead and discard those, whether you put them in your compost pile or the trash, wherever they're going to go. And then I just use, here it is, one of the ball leak-proof lids. It's easier in the morning to kind of open the jar to pour in my cup, but you could also use a regular canning lid and rim on there, or any kind of jar, any kind of storage container that you put liquids in will work just fine. And this, as far as it lasting, I had a cup this morning and I made that batch last week. So, and it was great. So 7 to 10 days. I don't know if I'd go longer than that, but I don't see what it would hurt. It's just tea. So I'm going to go ahead and put the tea bags in the pot now. I'm just going to kind of get those going. That was my 20-minute timer. You can see those black specks in there. That's the vanilla in there. So I'm just trying to make sure those tea leaves get completely submerged. And I can go ahead and turn off the heat here. And that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to set my timer. I'm going to set it for about 7 minutes. If you do not have vanilla pods, that's okay. You could just pour some vanilla in there after it's done and off the heat. You don't want to pour the vanilla in there while it's boiling. Just once it's done steeping, you go ahead and pour some vanilla extract in there, however much, again, you like. Probably, because it is a concentrate, maybe a half a tablespoon might be a good amount. But again, to your flavor, your preference. Do you want it more vanilla? Do you want it more spicy? If you want it more spicy, maybe more pepper, more peppercorns, more clove, more ginger, all those things, you know, all the things that make it spicy, add more. If you don't want it spicy, less. Play with it. It would be in your kitchen, your rules, your kitchen, your flavor preferences. So this is a good recipe to kind of start off with how they recommend, and then of course leave out what you don't like. Like I don't like black licorice. I'm not going to put star anise in there. I'm not even going to try it because I don't like that flavor. You do what works for your kitchen and what works for your taste. And then we can all sit down and have a cup of tea together. So again, like I said, this has got about 5 minutes to steep, and then I'm going to pour it in the jar, and I'm going to let the jar come down in temperature a little bit because obviously that was boiling and simmering for 15 minutes, so it's pretty hot. So I do want this to come down to temperature a little bit before I put it in the refrigerator. If you did want a cup of tea right away, you could definitely do that. Like I said, the ratio is 1 to 1. But again, play with the ratio. Maybe you want it stronger. If you do, then maybe add more tea bags. All the things. Okay, so the timer just went off, and so my tea has steeped for the appropriate amount of time, and it looks, well, I don't know what it looks like, but it smells amazing in here. So I'm going to go ahead and just dip out all of these goodies. You can see right here. So I'm just taking the bag that had the spices in it. I'm using a slotted spoon so the tea stays behind. I'm just putting that like in a garbage compost bowl. And then I'll bring you down and show you everything. I can go ahead and bring it down now. So, oh, that's a little warm. Of course it is. Because it was boiling. Got the vanilla. Now I think what I'm going to do next time, because I'm wanting to make some vanilla sugar, I think what I'm going to do next time is just take the vanilla seeds out of the pod and then use the pod, dehydrate that, and use that to make some vanilla sugar. Then that way I'll get 3 uses out of it. I will have made my vanilla extract, and I will have made my chai concentrate, and then some vanilla sugar with the rest of the pod. It's a little hot. I'm just going to use a spoon. Don't want to tear the bags, but just get that out of there. Now, don't pull a Jennifer and think that you can get another batch out of this. You could definitely add the spices and whatnot to another batch if you were, had the full amount of ingredients. But I did try to reuse those spices to make another batch, and I was oh so very disappointed because it just wasn't the flavor that I wanted. It was too weak. So let's see. I'm going to try it with you here on camera if this pot works a little. Oh, it does. Just a little splash because I was busy looking at other stuff. Ooh, that's hot. So, sounds like a bomb. It's hissing. It's hissing at me. But it is very hot. And it's still hissing. So I'm going to leave that top kind of popped a little bit. I think it's too hot to put the lid on right now. So like I said, I'm going to let that come down to maybe not quite room temperature, but just let it come down in temp because it's very warm right now. I can't hold the glass. But it is wonderful tasting. It is wonderful smelling. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make a little cup. got one of my little double wall teacups here. Let's bring you down here. To find something with a pour spout. Do you guys know of any ball products that has a pour spout? I bought one time and it was cheap. It wouldn't turn, wouldn't lock on. So I'm just using milk, and I'm just going to do a 1-to-1. I'm just eyeballing it. That was probably a little more tea than it was milk, but that's okay. What I will do for you guys, hopefully it won't cause me not to be able to sleep tonight. Let me show you. Can you see the vanilla specks in there? Just know that's going to be delicious. Those vanilla specks in there. So I'm going to give this just a little stir. Now, my milk was cold right out of the refrigerator, so this should make this just fine to drink. Let's take a sip. It could be a little warmer. The milk cooled it down a little bit too much. But if you like iced chai, then that would be perfect. But that ginger, the nutmeg, a little bit of the clove, not too much. It is just so good. It is so good. And if you go to a coffee shop, you're going to be spending $4, $5, $6 on a cup of chai. And the spices can be an initial investment, but if it's something you enjoy, invest in yourself. Buy the spices. Start off with the little bags. Get what you can in those little bags and see if it's something that you enjoy. If not, then you've only put a few dollars into it. And probably with those few dollars and buying what you needed to buy and the other things that you had in your house, then it will be worth the money that you spend on it if you like chai. I appreciate you coming into my home and into my kitchen and spending this time with me. And I hope to see you again really soon. I am feeling better, so I'm hoping to get more videos out for you. Like I said, I have some ideas. I want to make some vanilla sugar. I have ideas of things that we can do together. And so I can't wait to see you next time. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you next time. Take care.